Hello world, Stephen Michael Zach here, and today we're taking a look at the Voplls, I believe that's the way you pronounce it, Voplls, Voplls Whale TV. Now this is a Netflix approved 1080p projector. It is, I believe, 320 Anson lumens. They say it's compared to a 12,000 Anson lumen. Not sure that's correct, but it will cost this much at the time of the recording of the video. And these are going to be my own brutal and honest opinions as always. So let's take a look at what comes inside the box.
My own brutal and honest opinions as always. This is new to me.
So inside the box, you're going to get the documentation. You're going to get a cleaning swab for the lens. You are going to get an HDMI and a power cord. You're going to get a remote control. And of course, you are going to get the projector itself. Now let's take a look at the build quality. This thing is very plasticky. It does have a foot here, which does balance it very nicely, and this does rotate 180 degrees, which is always nice to see. In the front, you have the lens with no lens cover, so you're going to need to figure out how to keep your lens clean. And of course, you have the little thing here that helps with the keying and the adjustment of the picture. There is no way to adjust the lens itself. Everything is done internally. Flipping around to the back, you have a USB Type A, headphone jack, HDMI port, power button, and of course a place to plug it in, and that is it. There is not a whole lot of I/O here. And then flipping around to the bottom, you do get a 1/4-20 for mounting. So looking at the remote is equally as cheap, if not cheaper. Do not drop it. It will probably break. The buttons are fine. They're not great. And this does take AAAs, which are not supplied. So you will need to supply your own AAA batteries. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this together. And I do like the fact that you do get like an L shape here. I appreciate that. So you can mount it this way or this way. If you're hanging it from a ceiling, you can do it this way. If you're just hanging it putting it on a stand, you can go this way. Let's go ahead and we'll plug this in. And it's not a very long cord. It's a decent size. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is attach this to my Sony plate here, because this will go onto my Sony. And one thing I will say is I do appreciate that this is a brass ring. It is not all plastic. My last projector had a plastic ring and it broke and fell inside, so this should not do that. And let's go ahead and pop this onto my movie screen. Okay, let's go ahead and power this on here. And the first thing you'll see is it is going to autofocus, which is very cool. And the autofocus is pretty solid here. Now, let's take a look at the menus here, and hopefully you can see the remote in my hand. This is going to be a little difficult, so I'll try to show you the best I can. We've got a little cloud thing here. Then we move over to the thing here, to the gear, and let's take a look now. The first off in this menu, you have directional, so you have front, rear, ceiling front, and ceiling rear. So that's just the invert of the ceilings. Then you have the autofocus settings, and I have automatically refocus when moved, power autofocus is on. You have the keystone correction. Now I have that off. You can turn it on and it will auto keystone, but I find that it does not work on this screen, so we'll leave it off. And we'll go to four corner, and all you have to do is kind of use your control pad here to kind of move the corners around. I'm going to move this back because I've already done this, but you can kind of key this around, and hopefully you can see this. And I'll try to get each side perfectly straight there. So there we go. That looks pretty good. Then I hit the OK button, and it'll move to the next one. And that looks perfectly straight. Let me walk over here. And again, it's the viewing angle. Make sure that looks perfectly straight. Yeah. We can actually slide this over a little bit more. There we go. And it will always autofocus, which I really like. The autofocus works really well. When you're happy with that, you hit the back button here. Let me see if I can get this in focus for you. you'll hit the back button here. And that's pretty much it. Now let's go and look at some of the other things here. You've got your device preferences. I'm not going to mess with anything like that. You've got your app settings, which I won't mess with. The software update, your network, your picture mode. I'm going to keep mine in standard and keep eye protection mode off. Then you've got your sound, and you can probably, this is probably where you can control anything that you plug in. But I've got everything in standard. So a lot of options here. Now let's go ahead and hit back one more time. And then we go into your source, which is your HDMI, which is what we are hooked up to, which is my computer. And then we can go into this little timer thing here. It'll give you the time and temperature. And then you can go ahead in here and look up movies and things like that. You could type something in and it'll try to find whatever movie and whatever service it's connected to. We do have Netflix, YouTube, Prime Video, Disney+, Tubi, HBO, Hulu, although I hear that Hulu does not work very well. Then you have the Play Store, which is interesting. And then you have your files. So this will be where you can read your flash drives, which I do not have a flash drive plugged into this yet. And then you can cast to a TV. And then there's this button here, which I believe looks like a...
Enter speaker mode.
Open Netflix. So you have a speaker mode, so you can actually connect speakers to this, but we're going to turn that off. We're going to hit back.
Exit speaker mode.
So there is a speaker mode, and that is what the audio sounds like. So let's go ahead and let's navigate to... let's go ahead and navigate to all the way back over here. And let's navigate to the HDMI source. We'll go up, we'll select the HDMI source. It does take a few minutes. And there we go, there's my laptop. And here we are, as you can see. This is pretty good. You can see my reel here. And that looks pretty decent. I'm gonna go ahead and shut off this extra light here. So now you get a real sense of how clear this is. I will say the clarity on this is absolutely excellent. And let's go ahead and jack up the speaker here. And I will say the speaker is not terrible either. Some people were saying the speaker was not good. So I will say that not only is the picture very, very clear, but the speaker is not too bad on this. So there you go. There you have it. There is the projector. Okay, so let's talk about this projector, starting off with the cons. Now, the first con is it is made of plastic. Do not drop it. Do not hit it hard. Do not slam it down. Do not put anything on it. It will crack. It is not the greatest made, neither is the remote control. The remote control actually feels cheaper. So that is just a downside. The other downside is there is no lens cover. So you will have to figure out how to keep this lens clean. And because the mount that it's on does not actually act as a cover, there is a huge gap in it. So you will have to find that, and there is no way to manually focus. You will have to go into the menu systems. So those are kind of cons. Another con, which I pointed out earlier, is the fact that when you're first using the machine and you turn it on, you have to agree to let them collect your data, and that is a big red flag for me. And although it says it destroys your data when it collects it, I do not believe them. The fact that you are forced to do it really sends up a red flag. So if you have a problem with giving them your data and then having them stored on their secret secure server, although Voplls, I don't know how secure your server is because I've never heard of you, but that is just something you are going to have to agree to if you want to use this. So there you go. There you have it. And that is pretty much it for the cons. I will say that it does sometimes when it's adjusting the picture, when it's adjusting, what angle, sometimes it gets the angle slightly off, so you will have to go in and manually correct. And I found that across the board that I had to manually go in and fix it. So that is just something to note there. Now, from the cons to the pros, this thing has an absolutely beautiful picture. Now, one disclaimer I will say is that this claims to have a 320 Anson lumen screen when compared to 12,000 Anson lumens of the others. I think they're comparing it to 720 and below. This is a full HD 1080p. They wrote 4K on the box. They're saying 4K. It is not 4K. And I find that Anson lumen thing a little bit iffy. So take it for what it's worth. I will say, however, in the absolute dark, this picture is pretty nice. Is probably one of the best looking pictures I've ever had on a projector. And I've had projectors with lower resolution, but this just has such a nice picture, especially in the pitch dark. Even when some lights were on, it wasn't too bad. But again, projectors, you're going to be watching them in the dark. That's the way you're going to be using them. That's the way you should be using them. So let's talk about what I like. I love the fact that the mount swivels 180 degrees. You can wall mount it. There is a 1/4-20 on the bottom, and it does have a brass bushing, which is fantastic. I really love the fact that it has the brass bushing. And it just seems to work very well. The remote is very snappy. Everything is very snappy and quick. And it hooks up to the internet fairly quick. And I really don't have a whole lot of complaints with this. Even the speakers sound pretty good for just projector speakers. I know some people were complaining that they sounded terrible. I don't think so. I think they're just fine. Yes, you are going to want to hook up a sound system or a speaker system to this. It will sound better. But when just using the built-in speaker at like 50% or below volume, not bad at all. So there you go. There you have it. Do I recommend this? And that is yes, if you can get it on sale for about $99. It is definitely worth it to throw it in your backyard or to throw it in your kids' room, just to watch a few movies for a fun family night. Or if you're going to be doing Halloween stuff, or you're going to be doing like, just film stuff like I am, the image quality is pretty darn good and pretty usable. And we will be experimenting with this projector a whole bunch as well. So that's it. Those are my thoughts, but I want to know yours. So leave your questions and comments in the notes below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to mash the bell button to be notified when we drop a brand new video. And feel free to use the links below as it helps out the channel. I'm Stephen Michael Zach, and this is new to me.